Hi. Gay is not sin, and Jesus isn't asking the gay person to change and be straight. That's right, the Bible doesn't condemn gays. Hey, are you all excited? We get a lot of this exciting information lately on the candidates running for president. It's pretty much like a circus, and we're moving right along to the whoever's going to get nominated. And have you ever seen anything like that? It's interesting that nobody came up with the idea that Trump is sort of looking like the Antichrist. You know how everybody's following after him, and he's speaks with a sort of an authority and believes so much in himself that one could pretty much say this might be the attitude of Antichrist when he comes into power. He'll sound like he can make everything work, and doesn't matter where in the world, like he's going to be able to have the power to do it, and everybody's going to just do what he says. Who knows? Maybe he can get something done if he gets elected, or maybe he could be Antichrist. But just about every single person that ever gets in power is accused of being Antichrist or something, or is the Antichrist. But the point being is we're so close to this tribulation period that at some point we've got to start seeing somebody showing some signs of being what the Bible predicts the Antichrist is going to do. He's going to make negotiations around the world to have peace and so forth. And people have got to think that he could do it or something, and to get him into power. So somehow or another, we got to be looking around to find that there's somebody in this world that's beginning to show signs that he's Antichrist. In olden times, which was a few decades ago, not that long it seems, but it seems like forever today, when people would try to predict something, they'd predict like, oh, Antichrist is here, but he's up in some hidden secret mountain location, and he'll at one point finally come down and reveal himself. And we have this Lord Maitreya guy that for the second beast, or even Antichrist, and he's been all said to be someplace up in when the right moment comes down, which there supposedly were right moments, and he was supposed to announce himself. Never happened. But he's supposed to come down pretty much out of the blue and say, here he is, now give me the power to rule the world. And we have these periods of time that we're moving right along until today. We could pretty much say that we need to start seeing somebody doing some types of activities which ought to be what the Antichrist would be doing before he became the dictator of the world. So, when Obama became president, it seemed like everybody was really thinking he was going to be really great and everything, and with yes he can type of thing. But now we know that it didn't happen, whatever it is, although he's supposedly looking towards becoming leader of the United Nations, which we'll see if that ever happens. But in the meantime, we do need to be realizing that at some point we're going to have to see some individual start doing something which seems to be like he can fix the world. And up to now, we really haven't seen any figure really standing up to make a difference. But as I was saying, the rhetoric that we hear the Republican frontrunner making is he can do it. He can negotiate the deals. He can make, if anybody can make peace in the Middle East, he says he can make it. Doesn't mean he can make it, he said, but he says if anybody could, he could probably do it because he's a negotiator. He can make deals. So don't know, except that at some point we need to see some individual rise to stardom, as it was, indicating he can pretty much rule the world and get it back to something that we all want to see or something, because pretty much the whole world's going to want this guy to be AntiChrist. Even though we won't think he's AntiChrist, we'll think he's some person that can fix the world. And he needs to be able to start showing this to the world at some point or another, because the things that are getting more in the predicted stages in the internet and beyond, we see the world isn't getting better. The terrible predictions are getting more worse and more perilous, that it's really hard to imagine how we can survive in any condition, without, the world is just not going to be habitable, basically, by the types of predictions coming out these days. And some of the predictions have some credence, and others, are like a grain of salt. We've had predictions for 2,000 years and we're still here. What I think is this generation won't pass away, which began in 1948, and it seems like we're able to live to 100 years old these days, at least into the 90s. So you'd have to add 100 years to 1948, so that means 2048. So we still got a little ways to go, that a lot of stuff could get done. And there's still quite a bit of stuff that needs to be done that people aren't thinking about too much in the way of getting fulfilled for Jesus to return. And Jesus is getting closer and closer to that time that he's going to return. So we do need to keep our eyes open and watch for in that hour that the thief comes. If we're asleep, he'll steal all that we have. And the thief that's coming to steal all that you have is wanting to steal your eternal life with Jesus Christ. And many people that call themselves Christians think that once saved, always saved, or that for sure they won't turn their backs on Jesus. But this is just exactly what's going to happen. As much as 2/3 of Christians today are going to turn their backs on Jesus, because they don't think that what's happening in the world should be happening.